Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at a handsome little critter out of the AD&D Monster Manual 2 from 1983, and that is the Froghemoth. Oh, what a beautiful creature this is. This is an old, not old, but this is an Nolzur's figure that I bought a few years ago and painted up. I think it was about $9. I really like this figure. So we're going to take a look at our good friend the Froghemoth today out of the Monster Manual 2. Also, subscribers, thank you. I have just crossed 2,000 subscribers. I appreciate it. And the channel continues to grow. So come on, let's keep the channel growing. I kind of think of subscribers as experience points. And I'm getting more and more, and I want to keep growing in levels. So come on, help me. Give me some more experience points. If you haven't subscribed yet, come on in, have some fun. We talk about games here a lot. Also, Patreon. I have several supporters on Patreon. I want to thank them for their support of the channel. And I want to continue to grow that as well, so I can continue to keep up with current releases, as well as maybe pick up some better tech, so I can present a little more professional videos. But enough with the commercial. Back to the important stuff at hand. This handsome guy out of Monster Manual 2 from 1983, the Froghemoth. And because I haven't shown it in a while, here's tonight's setup for our game. You notice that some of the tiles are different. I got to get around to painting those. But there's our intrepid party getting ready to go in. We're going to be playing about 3 hours, but this will be the first game Mike is back since before the pandemic lockdowns. So we're going to have to do a little session 0 stuff just to get him back up to speed. But there's the layout, culminating in whatever the heck that is. So kind of excited. Mike hasn't seen a lot of this stuff. First encounter here is going to be this guy. And it's the floor is an illusion. There's water under there. That's why there's a little bridge over it. They should be able to figure that out. They're pretty smart. Okay, the Froghemoth. This is one of the guys I noticed early when I was reading through the Monster Manual back 40 years ago, Monster Manual 2, because he's one of the rare, really high hit dice creatures from a lot of the early D&D books. One thing I think D&D suffered from a little bit is that a lot of the monsters didn't have a lot of hit dice. I fixed that, of course. I just gave them more hit dice, but it was nice to see one written. So here we have the Froghemoth on page 67. Frequency is very rare. Number appearing is 1. It's one of those 3 different armor class creatures. The tentacles are armor class 2. The body is AC 4, and the tongue is 6. And you're going to see why it matters on this guy, what you're attacking. It can move 2 inches on land, 8 inches, and then 4 inches in normal swamps. So it's aquatic. 16 hit dice, 40% chance to be in its lair. Treasure type C below. Basically, its treasure is whatever. It gets dropped by the things it eats. Number of attacks, 1 or 4. And that is either 1 for the bite for 5 die 10, or 4 with 1 with each tentacle. It has 4 for 5 to 8. So it's listed as 5 to 8 plus 4. That can be interpreted as a 4-sider plus 4, or I do it as 2 4-siders plus 4 to give it a little more damage. Special attacks see below, defenses see below, magic resistance see below. It's an animal intelligence. Alignment is neutral. It's large, no psionic ability, and it's worth 8,100 experience points plus 20 per hit point. I used to calculate all the hit points out. Not the hit points, all the experience points for every encounter. Now I ballpark it, honestly. It's quicker. It's easier for me as the guy writing the dungeon. I just, I ballpark. I get real close, but I don't sit there and get down to the last experience point. Huge and weird. Froghemoths are found only where there are fresh swamps or relatively shallow, 100 feet or less, bodies of fresh water containing the large life forms that serve as prey. They are solitary except during mating season. The females will lay 10 to 100 eggs. They're about 1 foot in diameter each. These eggs are left in shallow water, and when the tadhemoths hatch, about 90% are eaten by their fellows or other predators. The few survivors will grow and then takes them 3 years to reach adulthood, and they only have about a 1 to 4% survival rate from being hatched to maturity. Tentacles of the Froghemoth are very strong and covered with a thick, leathery hide. Each of the 4 is about 15 feet or more in length. The body of the monster is only slightly less well protected than its tentacles. And while one of those members requires 19 to 22 hit points to sever or disable, the The creature's body can withstand a full 16 hit dice of damage. So if you're hacking away at a tentacle or even the tongue, that does not come off of his hit point total. That is the hit point total is for the body itself. The tentacles and the tongue have their own hit points. It has to take all of its hit points before it's actually slain. And injured members, the tentacles of the tongue, heal back in 2 to 5 weeks. The tongue is the most vulnerable attack appendage, taking only 12 to 16 points to sever. And the movement water is fairly rapid. The web feet kicking to thrust the monster forward. In marsh or swamp, Froghemoth moves by lying on its belly and sliding along, propelled by rear legs and tentacles. On dry land, movement is by short, vaulting hops. The tentacles thrust well ahead, the legs lifting the body upward and so forth. The only treasure it has is what's dropped by the creatures that it ambushes, and it is an ambush predator. It will either pop its eyes, the eye stalks way up above. So here's the eye stalks on this guy. It'll pop these above the water to look, along with its nostrils, so it can breathe. When it sees prey, it will then lunge out at them, a la an alligator or a crocodile. Or it will hunt in tall grasses or reeds and do the same thing. And when you are attacked, if you get attacked by the tongue, the long pink thing here, if you get attacked by the tongue, you on a 19 or 20 are drawn in and instantly swallowed. If you are hit by the tongue, otherwise you are drawn toward it, and there's some special rules on how you resist being dragged in. But on a 19 or 20, you're just pulled in. I think that's pretty cool. And yes, I have swallowed player characters by drawing them in. And in fact, one of my player characters, one of my higher level ones, got swallowed by a Froghemoth, and the party was able to get him out. He was able to attack. He had a dagger in hand when he got drawn in, so he was able to attack from the inside, and the party worked from the outside, and we were able to drop it before he was slain. This is a really cool monster. The way you do the resisting the tongue is, if you are not hit by a 19 or 20, you get a chance to hang on to something. So you grab a tree branch or whatever, and you hold on. You throw a 6-sider. So there's my 6-sider. It's a 2. The Froghemoth throws an 8-sider. If his value is higher than your value, you are pulled into the mouth. There's a 5. 5 is greater than 2. The Froghemoth has pulled you in and begun the digesting process. If you are pulled in, being digested, beyond getting the 5 to 50, that's 5 die 10 damage, you also take 4 dice 4 or 4 to 16 hit points of damage per round from the digestive juices. You are unconscious after 2 rounds, whether you have hit points left or not. If that's the case, if you're not free after the 2 rounds, by the 3rd round and beyond, you are considered digested and cannot be resurrected because you've been dissolved by the acids in the creature's stomach. So that's kind of neat. It's a good way to end a player character. So you got to be careful with this guy a little bit. And the 16 hit dice also makes him a very difficult monster. Normal fire will not harm a Froghemoth, so if you're running at it with a torch or something, you won't be able to hurt it. Very large fires or very hot ones will cause half damage and drive the monster back for 1 round. Burning hands will not drive a Froghemoth back unless 10 or more hit points of damage are inflicted. But a fireball, flame strike, etc. will drive it back. Now, interestingly, it takes half damage from very hot fires. I would include a fireball in that. So he would take half damage if he failed his saving throw from the fireball. So if I threw a fireball and did 30 points of damage, on a failed saving throw, he would take 15. And on a successful saving throw, he would only take 7.5 and round in his favor 7 points of damage. That's a pretty formidable defense against fireballs. Fireballs, flame strikes, etc. Electrical attacks only do 1 point per die of damage to slow the creature to 1/2 movement, and slows the creature for 1/2 movement and attacks for 1 round. Other forms of attack result in normal damage. Interestingly, it has animal intelligence, which means this guy could easily be charmed by a charm monster. Don't discount having a charm monster in your pocket. And then we have the Tadhemoth stage. I love the fact that there are Tadhemoths. And we get some details down here about it grows the tentacles. It grows about 1 foot per month for 6 months. And that grows by 60% until maturity. The early form has 4 fins in the pectoral area and 2 in the rear. Creature is fish-like and breathes water. It has a vicious bite for 2 to 8. After 6 months, the pectoral fins begin to lengthen into tentacles and more changes occur. and then it gives, as it grows, it gives you the different damages that can be done by its bite. Also, I adjust hit points by what the damage is, or by what the creature's size is. So it's very likely that the creature itself will not be inflicting, or will not have, of course, 16 dice as it's growing. But I usually start them out unless it's a true, just a little one, I would start them out somewhere around 6 to 8 hit dice. I want these to be formidable. This is a very good encounter for groups that are getting a little sassy, thinking they're getting pretty powerful, somewhere around 7th, 8th, 9th level. This will definitely take them back a little bit, because not only is this a formidable creature, but he's attacking them in the water. So if they're in the water for whatever reason and they're not particularly well equipped to deal with being in the water, though the environment becomes a hazard for them as well. I rule that in a swampy land, as the players are stepping, they only get half their normal movement. And if it's a particularly swampy area or there's been a lot of rain, I also roll to see if they just get stuck. I make them make a saving throw versus petrification to see if maybe their foot gets stuck in the mud. And then they have a choice. Do I free the foot from my boot, leaving my boot in the mud? Or do I stay there and try to deal with it? But if I stay there, I have no dexterity bonuses whatsoever. I still give shield, but I don't give dexterity or, of course, any movement for boots of speed, striding and spring, anything like that. So this creature is especially deadly if you keep in mind the environment in which it lives and ways you can use that against the players. So now I'm just going to put in a couple player characters with it just to show the scale. I'm going to zoom down a little bit. There we go. So there we have it. This is a big guy. This is a Nolzur's figure, painted by my buddy Mike. And this is an old Ralpartha or Grenadier, I'm not sure which. And it's painted by me. This has been one of my characters for years. So there you have it. That's the scale of which you're fighting. So a pretty formidable creature. So if you want to confuse your party a little bit and maybe you take them down a little bit, the Froghemoth is definitely somebody to consider. That's all I've got to say today from page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on page 121.